Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Imperfect Marketing. I'm your host, Kendra Corman, and today I am joined by David Forman. They joke around the office that David was writing code in the womb, but the truth is not that far off. He started building websites in middle school before the internet was even a thing. Even while he was pursuing other career paths, that passion never went away. Though he had a full-time job in retail, David started and ran Clarity Creative Group, a digital marketing agency on nights and weekends. And now it's his full-time gig, right?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So it's probably your full-time plus gig, right?
That's what it feels like now, nights and weekends doing this and not retail.
There you go. So welcome. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really excited because you are big into content creation. I love content. I love consuming it. I love creating it, all of it. And we were just actually, before we started recording, talking about AI and that it's a safe topic to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started. I think that the biggest AI that people talk about is Chat GPT.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on it?
Okay. The 5-second feelings is that it is, be honest with you, it's awesome. It's phenomenal. It is, to me, I think what we've always dreamed, even like what we dreamed like an assistant could be. And while not perfect, right? Perfect for imperfect marketing, it can be a good tool. It's a tool in your tool belt, right? It's no difference than having a hammer and a screwdriver, right? Using ChatGPT as anybody producing content or anything that you might need that kind of assistance with, ChatGPT can be there. It's not going to solve all your problems. It's not going to fold your laundry, obviously. It's not going to be the thing that writes every piece of content for you. But if you're a solo entrepreneur or just need to run something by somebody, it's just great to just be there and can, again, lead to helping you with your voice.
I love that because, yes, it is a great tool. It is not the end all be all. It's not the answer to everything. I think it helps increase our efficiency and our effectiveness to a point. I
Mhm.
was writing a social post for a client the other day, and they were at this great event talking about great things, and I could not think about anything else other than the word great. So I put the social like, literally, I think I had great 3 times in one post, and I'm like,
Uh-oh.
"That's really not gonna work." So I put it into ChatGPT, and I was like, "Oh, that's much better." But
Yeah.
it gave me some help with that. For another client I was working on it, we created a draft and then started editing from there.
Mhm.
But I think it needs that human interaction, and it's only as good as what it's given. Are you finding that people are just using it straight out of the box, that they have any views on it?
Correct. Obviously, there's different ways and different opportunities to get the most out of it or to get, dare I say, the least out of it, right? There's plenty of people that throw a question in there, respond something back that's generic, and they're like, oh, this is crap, and they move on. Then there's somebody like what you just mentioned, which is that you're not asking the AI to produce the content, you're asking the AI to work within your content. And that has really become what is getting the most out of ChatGPT, right? So instead of asking it to write you a blog post, you give it the details on what you want that blog post to be. You might end up writing 30% of it. You're going to write the headlines. You're going to write maybe a bio. You're maybe going to write the opening sentence and let the, the AI finish some of it, but it's still going to require live human interaction. It's not perfect. Again, it's going to repeat things. It's going to have a similar voice. However, like you mentioned about using great too many times, maybe also when you thought about it, you're like, and you know what? I want this email or this social post to be very salesy. Go ahead and change my voice a little bit because like maybe you just want to switch it up. And I know like for me, I have a certain tone in how I will write a social media post the same way anybody on my team is going to write something different. And maybe I need to make it more professional. And that's hard to do, especially from a writer perspective. I'm not even a very good writer, I'll admit that. But having ChatGPT allows me so much more able to lean on little things like that, which allows me to get just a different voice or a different kind of way to use it. And again, it's not asking for it to write me a social post. I'm giving it and then I'm getting.
Yeah, and you can use it for content ideas too. So if you don't want to give it something because you're having a blank brain day or whatever, you can get it to give you ideas and suggestions. But I think where the differential is going to be with people using AI are the ones that add in their perspective, their experience, their knowledge. It's only as good as what you put into it.
Hmm. Well, you mentioned something is, are people actually doing anything with that text after it comes out? If you just Google in quotes regenerate response, you'll notice that there was like a dental website that you could just tell all they did was copy and paste all the text from there. So did they do anything with it? The correct answer would be no. They just took it. And does that work? Hopefully it's a good representation of their dental business. I'm not sure. Is it going to help them for ranking in SEO? I'm going to go with probably not. It's probably going to not help you in the long term, but probably works in the short term. So does it maybe solve gain them a quick website? Good. But hopefully they'll do something else with that. But that's, again, it obviously is how they're using it.
So this is a really good direction that you went in. So it's not going to necessarily help them with their SEO. Talk to me more about that. How are you hearing, or what do you think that search engines, especially Google, are going to do with AI?
So SEO and SEO in particular and ChatGPT or any of these other ones, I really think it's the problem with, let's just go with what SEO is, right? SEO is search engine optimized content. But really what Google has really been championing for the last few years has really been about the importance of authoritative expertise, the EAT, yeah, and expertise, authoritative, and trust. And if you're using content that was generated from an AI, yes, there's knowledge there. But I would say if you're a lawyer or doctor or whoever you might be, what really is what makes you an authority if you're just using content that probably it already exists out there. So it's nothing new. It's nothing unique. It's nothing that's putting the proper knowledge onto that subject. So looking at how's that going to do for SEO? Very short term, might do well. Long term, not well at all, because all that is just regurgitated content that it pulled from somewhere else, right? It's not an expert. It can feel like an expert. It can know a lot about a little, or knows a little about a lot. That's where we go. It does know that, but you're not going to be able to have authority if it's not putting your spin or who you are about your business. So for that alone, I think is a big like stopping point on using it for SEO driven content. Now, the other side of it on the, okay, I'm writing content or I'm using an AI generation. The problem with a chat GPT at this point is that they don't cite their sources. You have no idea where this content's coming from. Now, Google has announced in their keynote this year that they're going to have proper attributions and linking back and citations and things. And if you use, you can join bard.google.com, and that's their kind of chat GPT version, which is good, more better for researching than I would say for the same way chat GPT is. But again, it's pulling from other places, which means that's a good reference point, but you're still needing to put making sure, is that accurate? Should that be a proper representation of the service or what you're blogging about?
So this summer, I was showing my interns how to properly use ChatGPT, and it's more about applying voice to content that we had, but we were experimenting with it. And I'm like, here, talk about this from this perspective. And it gave us 2 references.
Hmm.
And we clicked on them.
Mm-hmm.
And they went to 404 error pages.
Mm-hmm.
The organization was correct and probably has something related to that topic on their website, but that wasn't it. So it'll make things up. The other thing is that we put a client's voice into ChatGPT to create some social posts, or let's get it to give us some ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the pieces of the voice that it came back with when we gave it some samples was to use proper names of the animals that are available for adoption. So it made them up because that was in the voice. And it was funny because I was showing the interns and I'm like, I know exactly what this is going to do. And I'm like, okay, now we're going to take out that line. And then because it said that we had Whiskers and Bella and some other cat. And I'm like, no, they're not there.
That's not accurate. And it does not admit to it. And again, that's why we can't blindly use AI.
But it is a great time saver for sure. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about websites. So I actually had somebody email me. They were asking if I was available to help them with a website. They would have all the content. They were having Chat GPT write it all for them.
Hmm. Oh boy. Okay.
What do you what do you think from a website building, creating content perspective? Like that's not necessarily a good idea, in my
N-
opinion.
no, it's not. And it's, again, leaning a little too far AI into knowing exactly, um, again, how it could represent your business. I think I think writing content, trusting content from an AI does not know your business. And you can prompt it well enough to know all the services that you do, how you do things. But at some point, it a it's go it doesn't know what a roofing business is. It doesn't know what a chiropractor fully does, and doesn't even specifically sometimes know. It knows based on maybe a textbook, but doesn't actually know that what that actually means is because everybody reads textbooks. We all know we went to school. We all know that what they taught you in school is nothing like what it's like in real life. And the irony is that I think what you're going to get from ChatGPT is textbook material. It's good. It is a good start. Same way that dentist website that obviously used every page using ChatGPT did get started somewhere. But gosh, you got to personalize it. You got to individualize it. You could use it, like you said, as maybe building out your outline or give you some ideas on maybe some topics that you need to do. I love it for, especially as a website owner, whoever they might be. You probably are in your business, probably know very much about your business, but don't really know what questions you should be answering or what people would be asking for your business. I know where I would go as a business owner, but I know I'm already at the 100,000 foot view when somebody's asking a question at the 1,000 or 5,000 foot view. And you can ask them, like, what are starting questions for using this product or for this service, or what are questions people ask a chiropractor? Great. If you can't think of any. Now, if you know of questions that people are asking you, pull those first. But if you're like in the moment of you're thinking about reflection traction tables or something like that, I'd be like, that might not be what somebody wants to know.
Now, I will say, so I use a couple different AI systems in my business. ChatGPT is one of them. I just started using at the time of recording this, which is a little bit in advance of it releasing, Capsho for the podcast, because I do record in advance. And so it does a transcript and show notes and things like that I can tweak because it's given me some very interesting show notes. I've had to edit. And then I'm actually able to put it in Chat GPT once I've edited those, and it puts it into my voice
Hmm.
and how I wanted to do from some of the earlier podcasts that I did. And it knows my voice because I programmed it with it.
Hmm.
What are some of the other AI systems that you're using, not just Chat GPT?
Yeah, so similar tool. We've used like Otter.ai. It's similar, does transcriptions. We'll do it on, so we do it actually with all our Zooms that we do with our
Mhm.
clients. So we
I
interview our
use that too.
clients
Yeah.
and it records everything. And it's real cool because we've been using it for a few years now. It has only gotten better. We'll have, because like we have an office TV with a microphone, multi-directional microphone that picks up more than one person talking. And it now knows my voice. It now knows my business partner Craig's voice, and we're all on the same Zoom, so it's figured that out. And I'm like, this is getting good. So that's helpful. Little things like that are good, but it tells you the name, tells you who says it, is pretty clear on it. So little things like that, similar. Definitely used a little bit of trying to build some images using like Midjourney. Some of those are pretty cool in terms of creating. There was a client of ours that that does like limousines or whatever. And it was just real hard to get images from him. But we wanted proper representation that he does limousines in Disney. And while there's probably some copyright rules and you really can't take a picture of a limousine in front of the castle at Disney World, we could create one using Midjourney, asking for a specific car type and then have it represented on in Walt Disney World or whatever. So there's things like that are really cool. There's hit or miss on what you can get on it. Some of them are real good. Some of them feel like they don't understand about what you're doing. But overall, creating kind of some unique images that speak to about client or what they do is fun. There's definitely some value of using other kind of AI tools to assist, but same thing. It should not be like this is our company, this is our office, and it's an AI generated office building. That's probably not the way to go. But you could definitely use it to create stockish style images to maybe represent something on a page as a way for people to understand what you're doing.
I like that. I like that a lot. So let's talk a little bit more about leveraging AI and the objections that people have to using. I've been hearing a couple people, one, they tried it and they didn't like it. I think that's just, again, garbage in, garbage out to a point, right? They don't want to try it because it won't sound like them,
True.
which I think is a big one. And then it's not going to add the value that they add to the process. I think those are the three biggest objections I've heard. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say that's using AI from a year ago. That's using AI from 6 months ago, right? So I'll say a year ago, I went down a AI journey, right? I heard a podcast on it, and this was before Chat GPT, and there's been plenty of AI content generators that were out there. And I found some that I would say were all right. They were okay. I used it to create random headlines sometimes, or a description, or to summarize something. And it was hit or miss. Sometimes it felt like it really just copy and pasted everything I said. Again, it just added please or something to be more professional. I was like, that doesn't work. But there was a big miss. And it was like you put something in, you got something like mediocre out, and then you moved on. You didn't really have a choice. There was like a thumbs up or thumbs down was like your option on whether or not you liked what it put out. And it said it was supposed to educate the AI model to help you. Did plenty of thumb upping, thumb downing for many months and didn't really see much difference. But you could ask for, I need a headline for a podcast or whatever. And before you know it, it would make stuff up. It would be like best podcasts for, I don't know, Omaha, Nebraska. And be like, well, that's random. Where is it pulling that from? And then you realize it's just scraping the internet and just pulling stuff. Okay. That was the AI from before. And I'll be honest, you can prompt ChatGPT or Bard and get a mediocre response as well. And if your thought at that point is to stop, then at this point, you are giving up and really missing out on what really makes a lot of these chat softwares amazing, right? Because the whole idea of it is that you can go further in correction, and the same way it would be, let's say it's an employee, right? If it was an employee of yours and you said, hey, I need you to write me an email to help educate a client on, I don't know, GA4, all right? And it put something out and everything on it was wrong. You wouldn't just fire the employee, you would share with them some more information. Oh, okay, that's right what you're saying. Can you try that again? It puts out maybe half of it's right. Okay, just to let you know, these two things are wrong. Can you check? Can you correct that? How about we talk about that tracking attribution's different, or conversions are different, or events fire differently. Let's talk about that. And you're tweaking it the same way you would tweak an employee. You got to talk to it. And I think people dare say is weird to talk to a model, but this is how it's built, and it's going to only do better for you the more and more you converse with it, which sounds real creepy when you say that, but it's so true in terms of that it is trying to do better for you, which is helpful. But the problem is I think a lot of times we get one or two answers that are bad, and then we move on. Now, again, there's specifics that you're not going to get great out of it. I did a tell me great neighborhoods in East Orlando, and it more gave me like cities all around Orlando. And I was like, oh, okay, you don't get that. And it's not going to get everything. But maybe I have to say, how about this area or this area? Does that maybe help you in terms of what it's doing? But it's why you also can't, again, fully just take, copy and paste it and then say, these are the neighborhoods, right? Because chances are, like, I'm using that like an example. If you were a realtor, you would probably know what neighborhoods are in the areas that you're working.
So, what's been your favorite prompt? Or what is your favorite prompt that you use most often or that you have fun with?
I probably have the most fun with asking it to pretend it's a business owner and then give it little specifics about what it's like to own that business or something that was maybe unique to them. And then begin to start, I'll actually have it and tell it, like, you're this. What questions do you need to know to be a good business? It'll ask me certain things like, do you offer this service? Do you do this? And it just to help it understand who I am. Then I start asking for it to maybe start helping me with content or start pointing me in some direction. Has been where we've been playing around with it. It's been fun. But just to see it, how it can really be different in terms of the personas that you can give it.
I would say one of the biggest things that I've learned while experimenting with AI is to not trust everybody on TikTok. I do. I test out a lot of different prompts that people are suggesting on Facebook, LinkedIn. I put in what they're suggesting to see what it gives me
Mm-hmm.
because there's just such neat stuff that you can get out of it. And then there's things where it came back with an error. So I'm not quite sure what you were talking about.
Well, we were putting a web URL into it that because ChatGPT's history comes from 2021 and before. So we picked a brand new website that did not exist and we put it in there and said, tell us what this business does. And it did pretty good at figuring it out. But we realized it was making all of that up because we looked at, there were certain keywords on that page or whatever. And I was like, does any of this, none of it matched. But like it figured out that based on the URL, oh, this is probably this type of company. I was like, that's really interesting. Like it's intuitive. It's smart. It figures it out. But there's always a question of, but the people were saying, oh, put URLs in, you could summarize a page and maybe it will, but that's what it thinks of what was on the page from 20.
One, and you hopefully have updated things since 2021, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this has been an awesome conversation. Originally, we were going to talk about a bunch of other things, and then I was like, "Oh, he'll talk about AI." I'm like, let's just start talking about AI because I think it's going to be, it's going to continue to be a very hot button discussion wise. I don't think it's going to replace people like myself or David. I think people like myself and David are going to be the ones that need to learn to leverage it for our clients and to help others leverage it to become more efficient and effective. But I don't think it's going to replace us.
Let me give a cool analogy that I heard, and I'm repeating this. I don't know where I heard it from, so I apologize for not giving credit. But as a reminder, the calculator did not kill the mathematician. It just made them able to perform faster and stronger. And there's still a career, there's still a path, there's still a need for engineers. They have not been replaced. This is not a replacement. This is the content calculator.
Yeah, this is a tool, and I'm very excited to see what happens next as we continue to grow with AI. Now, David, before I let you go, I always ask all of my guests this one question because the show is called Imperfect Marketing. And as we know, marketing is anything but perfect, clearly, because we're using AI to help us with a lot of it. What has been your greatest marketing lesson learned?
All right. So I really tough to come up with a short list. So I came up with two. So my first one is to make sure to test and test some more. I think we all get into the habit of setting something up and then we just move away and we don't think that we can manipulate it. But I think it's so important that we try different things. We throw different things at the wall, see what sticks, whether it's changing up a headline or a meta description or the opening paragraph. What does it work? Does it not work? What did you do that was more helpful than before? So testing is huge. And then on top of that, I believe that a lot of times we get very fearful of what we're putting out there. And while maybe some people get really quick and they just copy and paste Chat GPT and put regenerate response, which is probably a little too early, but there is a, dare I say, the minimum viable product that you should be putting out there. If it's honest, correct, professional, put it out there. The worst thing you can do is wait to post a blog, to put a page up, put something out there that you don't think is perfect, I think is the wrong way to go. And I feel like a lot of people kind of hold that back. And it's painful sometimes. It's put the thing out there that it can work. It is working, but give it a chance to break a little bit, right? You got to test it, right? So it goes back to the other one. But I feel like a lot of times people are sitting on a great idea that should be working, that should be out there, but they don't think they're not happy because it's not at 100%, but it's still damn good at 95 or even 75, and they just need to go with it. So I think that would be what I would tell people to push
Love
forward
that.
on.
Progress over perfection. Move forward. I had a guest on the podcast not too long ago who said he will beat you every time. Actually, it might be almost a year now. Wow, it's been a long time. Anyway, he'll beat you every time to market if you are in the same market as he is, because he will get to market quicker, faster, with more communications, more effectively than you will. His stuff is good and his stuff is right. It's not necessarily perfect. So while you're re-recording on take 75, he has 75 videos out.
Yeah,
And it's so
exactly.
true.
And I think this day and age, people are a little bit understanding of that you're going to have a podcast and you're going to stumble. You're going to have a YouTube video that might not look perfect, but people have accepted that. And that's what we have to embrace, I think.
Yep. Keep it moving, keep things going. And I think as AI continues to grow, it's going to give us more tools to test, to be quicker to market, to keep things moving forward, right? With more stuff. I'm actually a little scared with how much content's going to be out there as they continue. I'm already inundated with content. Just now that it's easier, it's going to get even more inundated with content. But there's so much good stuff out there. So I think that the rule is definitely make sure that you're adding value. Your experience, your voice, your information, you can add value. So make sure you're doing that while you're testing and making content happen. So thank you so much, David, again, for joining me. Thank you all for listening and tuning in. If you're interested in learning more from David, you can visit his website, which we'll have in the show notes, but it's iwantclarity.com. They've got digital marketing and website information creation on there. So definitely check it out and connect with David and his team at iwantclarity.com. And if you learned anything out of this episode, and I hope that you did, because I know I did, and I enjoyed having the conversation, please rate and subscribe wherever you're listening. Thank you all for tuning in and have a great rest of your day. See you on another episode of Imperfect Marketing.